Hi guys, it's a Glow by Jenny. Watch me glam myself. First of all, I went in with my wipes to wipe my face properly. Then next, I went in with my Kiss Beauty setting spray to hydrate my face. Then next, I went in with my fan to dry my face. Next, I went in with my moisturizer and properly moisturize my face. I make sure I moisturize every part of my face, including under my eyes and every other part of the face. And I use my fan to make sure that it's properly dried. Then next I went in my Mayore primer. I applied it on my T-zones and then the other parts of my face except my under eyes. Then after applying this, I make sure I use my fan to dry it up and make sure it's properly dried. Then next I went in with my Avo foundation in the color 15 and I blend it with my damp beauty sponge to make sure it sits well on my skin. So after properly blending this, then next after properly blending and making sure it sits down on my skin, then next I'll be going with a shade or two shades darker to contour my face. So I went in with my Ezekiel in the color 25 and used it on top of my head and beneath my cheekbone and also on the side of my lips. So I went in to blend properly. After properly blending with my damp beauty sponge and make sure it sits where I also damp the part of my cheek with the remaining part of the foundation. Then next I'll be going in my cream contour. I apply it on top of my cheek and the middle part of my nose and make sure I go in my damp beauty sponge and properly blend it properly. So I blend in so that it sits well on the skin. After properly blending this, then I'll be going in with my concealer, a shade or two shade lighter, and properly apply it on my T-zones and under my eyes. Then I go in with my damp beauty sponge to make sure I blend this to sit well on the skin. So I blend my concealer and make sure I blend in all the highlighted areas and make sure it's properly blended on all over the highlighted area. So I blend also the under eyes and make sure it's properly blended. I also blend the other side of the eyes too and make sure it's properly blending well into the skin. So after doing this properly and make sure everything has blended, so next I'll be going in with my contour for nose. This is a cream contour for nose, so I went in to tap in my cream contour for the nose. Then after properly applying the cream contour, I went in my damp beauty sponge to blend. So makeup is all about blending and make sure that it sits well on the skin. So I blended it in. Then next I went in with the powder, a shade or two shades lighter under my eyes and all the highlighted areas. So I try to make sure that the powder is well, a shade or two shade lighter is well seated on the highlighted areas, and I make sure I allow it to sink in. Then next I went in with the other shade of powder for my face and try to blend it into the skin. So you don't shift it, you try to blend in. Make sure you're placing it on top of the skin and allow it to blend very well. Make sure it is sinking into the skin, that is well blended into the skin. So after doing this, I went into contour my face. Like I used my powder contour. I did it the same thing I did on my cream contour. The places I applied my cream contour, I applied my powder contour. So at this point, I'm loving my makeup, so I'm dancing to it and I'm feeling happy about it. So next, I went in with my powder blush and make sure I set in very well and make sure it's well blended on the skin. So after properly blending it into the skin, I went in with my Kiss Beauty setting spray to make sure I set the face and allow it to dry properly. So after that, I went in with my Younger translucent setting powder and make sure I set the face. I try to set the eye parts and also the highlighted areas and make sure that everything comes together in. So next, I'll be going in my brow time to use my spoolie brush to raise my eyebrow and make sure my eyebrow is up already. Then next, after this, I will make sure it's properly up. Then next, after this, I'll be going in with my concealer as a setting base for my eyeshadow. So I make sure I apply my concealer as a base for my eyeshadow. Then went in to make sure that my nose is well contoured. Then I went in with my first eyeshadow on my crease and make sure I blend in very well. So I do the same thing in the other side of the eyes. So this is me applying the first time on my crease here, and I make sure I'm blending in very well. So as I'm watching, I'm also blending in. So I also do the same thing in the other eyes and make sure I blend in very well. So this is me trying to blend in very well. So after applying this, then I went in with the inner corner. I went in with the actual foundation I wanted to use. I used my Blossom wedding party for eyeshadow. Sorry. So after applying the inner corner, I make sure I blend all of them together and make sure it's well blended. So next, I wanted to make the eyeshadow a bit darker. So I went in with this darker shade on the downside of the eyes, and I try to blend everything together. So when it comes to makeup, it's blending to make sure that there is no harsh line on it and make sure that everything is properly blended. So after properly blending everything together, next I went in with my Cara gel liner, the dark color, to make sure I line up my eyes. So this is me trying to line my eyes. So after lining this side, I also went down to line my water eyes, the under part, and make sure it's properly lined. So after doing this, I did the same thing on the other part of the eyes and make sure it's properly aligned. So guys, in case if you're working on yourself, you have to be very careful, because at this point, this is a careful moment. If you don't take care of it, you might end up tearing up, or you might end up putting it on your eyes. So after this, I went into set with my setting powder, so I don't have any fall. So here I went in to drag up my eyes. So I went into set after properly setting my eyes. Then next I went in to draw my brows. So I went in to line up my brow. So after lining up, I went in to fill in. So I fill in the downside and just make the front side a bit fancy. Then I did the same thing the other part of the eyes too. So I went, after doing the other part of the eyes, I went in with my concealer, a shade or two shade lighter, to highlight the under eyes. After doing it here, I also do the same thing the other side. I highlighted the under eyes. Then next I'll be going in with my brush to make sure I blend everything. So after properly blending everything together, so I went in with my brush to blend. So I blend in, I also blend the other part of the eyes. So I refused to blend the top side because I was okay with it. So I didn't go again blending the tops. Rather, I just went in with another brush to blend in both the eyeshadow and the other part. So next, I went in to line my lips. So while lining your lips, you at least smile so that you get the bridge of your lips. So after lining my lips, I went in to map and make sure that it's well blended. Then I went in with the exact color I wanted to use on my inner lips and also map to make sure. So at this point, I'm loving my makeup and I'm gradually progressing on my makeup. So after properly doing this, so next I went in to fix my lashes. So after properly fixing my lashes, because I was on nails, I try as much as possible to be careful and not to trick my hands on my eyes. So after doing this, I went in to press a bit, not fully, but to make sure that the lashes is very relaxed. I did the same thing on the other eyes. Then I tried to make sure it's sinking. Then after doing this, the other eyes didn't stay, so I have to remove the lashes and refix the lashes glue. So I went in to blend in everything together and also reapply those things, my contour and also my blush, and make sure that everything sits well. So next, I also went to set my under eyes, my contour. I tried to recontour my nose. So after properly contouring my nose, I use my powder brush to blend everything together. So after properly blending everything together, I set my face. Then I highlighted my nose, but I didn't highlight any other part of my face because I wanted it simple. So this is my final look. Thank you guys.